pull is strong. The rope, the sail rides on, rippling. The launch is now. See how the ocean clears a path before you. The lime and lapis seafoam dreams sparkle as you ride out the storm. You are safe below where it's dark. There is no fear for time, for the clocks have long since been thrown overboard, along with your checkbook, spare glasses, and mortgage. Thank you, I appreciate that. Here's a funny poem I wrote about a large retail place I used to work at. It's called Death on the Installment Plan. It's okay, some people are quick learners and some aren't, the trainer tells me. Evidently, I belong in the special children's school. The boys waiting in line talk smack about me and finally move on. I have 2 degrees. Neither of them are in plastic bags. Kids with autism often see 60 flickers per second in fluorescent light, bright lights, no music. Music to shop by would add another crispy layer to this inferno cake. The trainer puts a plug of chew between her remaining teeth. Snorts. I think I've got time for a real short one, huh? Got up to 5? Okay.
Okay, go for it.
A cure for pain. And the Missouri runs through Nebraska. So that's that for you, that piece of information. Would it seem a sacrilege to waste this time on tears? Given all prisms, even the muddy mow resembles onyx tonight. So turn, the river you step in now is not the water you stood in yesterday. Step away and pirouette through soft hush snow into gleaming night.
Thank you. Very well done. Thank you. You have a sideways sense of humor, don't you?
I like to think so.
Well, it made me laugh for sure. So say that again.
Then I've done my job if you
You've done your job. Perfect. Someone is asking about the link to the anthology. The link to the anthology is on that same Writer's Corner page on the right-hand side. And if you still are having trouble finding that after the reading, I'll send you the direct link. So.
Yeah, Dee, I sent you the question because I had submitted some poems to you already. I was wondering if it's the same anthology.
The same anthology, just the one. There's that finger again. Just the one. Yes, sir.
Well, to ask Heidi if the crop circle, if that's one of the Zoom backgrounds.
Exactly. Well, I should say that's my backyard, but it is a background I came upon randomly, and I thought, crop circles.
Cool. Wild. Yes. Thank you.
Very, very good.
I haven't tried one of these different backgrounds yet. We'll have to try that sometime.
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid I might just disappear in there. Okay, so let's move forward and let's see. Moby, would you like to read next? I love it. You'll have to unmute yourself. Moby Warren, everyone.
Hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Dee, for inviting us to read. And it's a real pleasure and honor to read in this community of poets. So good evening, everybody. Hi. I'm going to start out with a poem that I wrote not quite a year ago. It's not been published because I haven't submitted it anywhere yet. But a little background, it was written to my son, whose name is Bruce Jinghai. His father is Chinese Vietnamese, so Bruce has a Chinese middle name. He's an environmental attorney with the Natural Resource Defense Council, but in his spare time, He spends hours on the beaches of Maryland where he lives hunting for fossils. And last summer for my birthday, he sent me some of the fossils that he had found, and it was an extraordinary gift, and it inspired this poem. Radiant, for Bruce Jinghai. From my son, fossils tucked in soft cotton for my birthday, creamy stems of dimpled coral, shards of sand dollar, bone. 18 million years rest on my palm. I think of him scanning the beach with his enormous patience, how he tracks a sudden glint in a waif's pulse and plucks a shark's black tooth. My son, whose middle name means radiant sea, radiant the way sun threads light through water, a thick embroidery of dragon fire. Pregnant, I dreamt I crossed the sea with my father in a gyroplane. Large gleaming fish leapt in arcs through the open cabin, and I knew I carried the sea within my son. Explosion of wet light and cold muscular wonder reignites in my hand, a sacral flood, a spangled wonder. The other two poems I'm going to read are poems that are in my book, Thread and Nectar, that came out in September 2020. And I'm just going to read them without any preface. The first one is titled Sesame Seeds Pray. May you burn us to make soot for ink, a calligraphy of caves filled with treasure. Make of us a unit to measure the square root of two, the diagonal of a holy brick. Tap our pods, we are locks clicking open. Iftaya sim sim, open sesame. Open us. Press us for oil, ferment us into wine, sprinkle your breads, season your soups. Take comfort in our earth-colored coats, buff, tan, gold, brown, red, gray, black. We are little thrones of health. We are seeds of reconciliation. We are your oldest. Mix us with honey and cumin. And the last is titled Summer Tomatoes. I know we're still in the spring, but it felt like summer today. And some of you may already have planted tomatoes in vegetable gardens. Summer tomatoes. Sunlight flows through tree shadow to touch the garden. Pulled by the gravity of ripening tomatoes, light alters into life and alter. Inhale air's magic, quaff water at the root, dangle stars of yellow blossom. Each flower is a fearless diver, a needle that pulls a green knot into place, sloughs the wilted robe to give way to fruit's crescendo. Curled in the arm of summer light, feel the plum bob of your own heart drop you into place, so you too may surge to fullness.
The moon is in its waning crescent phase.
Yay!
Did you hear my phone?
Yes.
I actually turned the sound off my phone, so I'm not sure how that happened, but that was
hilarious.
Cool.
We needed to know that at this moment.
Well, the moon's very magical, so there you go.
I love it. And Moby, your books are available. This book, is it available on Amazon? I got my copy, but I can't remember. Is Finishing Line or
on Amazon? You can either go to Finishing Line Press, the publisher, but it's available on Amazon.
So if you just type in Thread and Nectar Moby Warren, you'll see it. Isn't that magical?
The link to Moby's website in the chat.
Very easy.
So.
I'll put
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Does everyone, does anyone know how to save the chat? Because I've understood that you can save the chat. Loretta.
There's 3 little dots, should be 3 little dots on the bottom row.
3 little dots on the bottom row.
It has file. There's a place.
Yeah, there's a file. There's a, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, right.
Are we talking about in the chat itself?
Yes. Like,
Okay, hold on. Let me find it.
it has file, and next to the file, there are 3 dots
Yeah.
At the bottom or at the top?
at the
bottom right?
Oh, I see the file. Okay, so yes, and 3 little dots, save the chat. Perfect. Where does it save to?
That's the mystery, apparently.
Can you find it after you
It
saved
saves
it?
to your, after you save it, it'll save to your computer and it'll state the location. At least it does for my laptop.
Okay, I'm trusting you on this.
The other piece of this is that the chat gets saved, I believe, whenever you record the session.
Yes.
So with the
That's
recording,
correct.
there's 4 files that get made, and one of them is the chat.
Awesome. Okay, maybe Robin, when she sends around the link to the recording, can also send the chat. That way you have all the links that people are putting in. Awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
And Moby, thank you so much for that beautiful reading. I love your book and your writing. I love how you always are talking about the magic of mathematics and science and how you weave it all together. And those are my 2 weakest links. So I'm always like, what'd she say? Well, I have to go look that up. I love it though. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. So Miguel, I don't think Miguel has joined us. So we're going to go on to Nicole. And Nicole, if you'll unmute yourself, Nicole, welcome.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Of course, I'm from Central Texas, and I met Dee because we have our own little writing group here in Central Texas too. But I am an MFA student right now, so what I'm reading to you is things that I've turned into school. And most of my stuff is nature. I'm pretty much a nature writer. All right. Be still. Be still, God's eyelashes fall through the clouds, and he smiles brightly, a masked cedar waxing balanced above the leaves that dangle like toes overhead. And beneath him, if I sit long enough, I can see the bottom of this river. Be still and hear things only the waxing knew of, down the bare roots that cascade into stairs toward the river, as the sun warmly touches my skin, and sparrows dart out of the brush like angels to light. And in all this morning, there is a prayer for you, the trees, the sparrows, and the waxwing, and though it pains me, those mosquitoes too. All right, next one, oil and light. I walked on a black mirror of moving water as the shimmering moon dropped her children. Inside the drapes of black ocean waves like stars, they branch and bleed into everything. A woman runs with her purse on her head. Neon ghosts float on the iridescent inky palette. Etched of sky, the silhouettes drip and bend. And on the stagnant wet concrete, curling exhaust and that hiss and honk of impatient cars, glossed umbrellas scurry and seem to follow an elongated glow that dissipates behind them. They watch and talk in inlets, indigo flickers inside dark ocean that ripples in curves of light. Warm in its white light and sweet roasting, A simple hot dog stand, now a beacon, with an aroma to overpower the roar, the rush, the rot. In the urban wet air, the attendant's cigarette bounces as he speaks. People swallow warmth, then continue into the kaleidoscope of water, oil, and light on asphalt. All right, this next one is called Rescue. Most of my poetry is like something I actually did. Rescue. My hair is stringy and soaked to points, the color of driftwood. There are American coots in the distance, 100 tiny submarines that dip and ride, the rippling silver current that touches the falling afternoon, the color of smoke. Water beads off their dark feathers like glass as I watch and walk along the shore. Their call is more like a frog clicking, and is the only sound against the wind. I cut my quilt around my ears. This, the only bit of bright color, except the patch of goldenrods. Someone else may have waited for the rain to stop, but that would be another place than this. The deer are in the field behind me, brave. They nip greedily on the wet, wild grasses. The bare trees behind them are endless, fleeting canvas of upward strokes towards sky. No dividing line, no palette of sorrow, just silver falling from the clouds. All right, this one is 13 Ways of Looking at a Moon. It's after Wallace Stevens' 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. Within the gold harvest moon, an owl's extended wings appear, more beautiful than the stars. I was like the moon, full and radiant and perennial, a wolf in constellated movement. The moon followed my steps, swaying in the wind like the restless tide. A woman and the moon are one. A woman and a moon and a tide are in one cycle. I am drawn into the sky, incandescent and heavenly, like the charm of a secret whisper. Moon speak. Tones of night travel through trees. A parliament filled the trees. Tapetum, lucidum, twisting, the moonlight a beacon, guiding a hunger found in the shadow within restless claw. O goddess of night, Athene, why does your image reflect owl? Do you not see how the moon sinks in the cycles of mothers about you? I know wanderlust, and I know sublime, resplendent hum, but I know too that moon is involved in what I know. When the moon blackens from sight, fire marks the edge, one of many circles. At the sight of blood moon, floating in the reddish light, even innocent hunger and cry into the night. She rode into the darkness on her silver horse. A fear pierced her in a hollow reddish pool. Her shadow was moon. Moon is shining. The owl must be watching. A new birth of matriarch. It was night all morning. It was raining, and it was going to rain. The moon sat in the meandering river current. All right, I got one more. This one is called Conclave. A buzzard tore at a coot. I saw its yellow-green feet, its charcoal feathers. I was overwhelmed to be witness. Or the clouded sulfur I found on the sidewalk in Georgia, covered in drops of rain, as if it did find the clouds, its meaty middle gone. Or the hummingbird in gravel, chest forward, wings spread. It was ready, proud, green, emerald feathers, white-tipped tail like an eagle. It was a warrior, fierce, even in a mask of ants. Or the summer grass, A cedar waxing, now dry, weathered, belly gold-dusted, tail feathers tipped in cadmium, wings with a scarlet edge, its eyes bulging like a Margaret Keane. Or on a muddy shoreline, a long, pristine skeleton of Toothgar, like he crawled there himself, a prize to a fisherman or a buzzard, now a sinking hole in a clay tomb. I just want to understand the world, where life goes in the stillness. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. That was beautiful. I just want to understand the world. Makes me cry. Yeah. Or I just want to understand my body. Or I just want to understand you. I just want to understand something. Thank you, Nicole, very much. Beautiful. Someone asked what master's degree program you're enrolled in.
I am currently attending Chatham University, which is the school that Rachel Carson went to, if you guys know who she is. That's why I picked that school. It's in Pennsylvania, but she's the one who made people aware of how toxic chemicals are, like on our crops and things. She wrote Silent Spring.
Okay.
So that's the school I'm going to.
Thank you. And online or long distance and there and sometimes
yes.
not.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I've had a mentor from Pittsburgh and I've had a mentor from Chicago. So I can do it completely online, except for like during the summer, you know, I go up there for like 2 weeks and then,
okay.
But yeah, I'm taking it slow. It's probably in about 3 years. No.
All right. Good for you. Thank you, Nicole, for being here. Our next reader is Cindy Heiser, and Cindy is going to read to us, no telling what. She sent it to me, and I know one, but I'm not going to spoil it. Okay, go for it, Cindy. Thank you so much for coming.
I'm so glad to be here. So I'm going to start with a couple poems that aren't published yet, and then we'll move on. So the first one is called Rose Garden. Late morning, and I bend my face toward red, yellow, peach, white, as I once did when choosing for my love, desiring an aromatic sweetness. Scent dimmed by distance from dawn, pink-streaked petals remind me of the climbers that skirted shade on the chain-link fence at the house where I grew. Loose, flat flowers, far from my conception of roses, invisible from the drive where another bush survived, thick-stemmed and blood-bloomed, even in December. Like my mother, now at 90, sharp and full of will. Once I remembered only thorns. How was it I missed so many blossoms? So the next poem is a contrapuntal poem. It's called Red Admiral, and the poem is in 2 columns. It's kind of 2 related poems. They use some very similar language, and then so I read them down, and then I'll read them across. So it looks like this. This is kind of its shape. So it's in the shape of a red admiral butterfly, more or less. So, Red Admiral. Slow drizzle on shoulderless asphalt, the verge scent of rain and earthworms. Vulnerable beige bodies come out to breathe. An earthworm's body has 5 hearts, though I have only 2. The one inside and the one outside turned to birdsong. Red-winged blackbird and cardinal, brief blood in the air. Last week, before a storm, motionless red admiral, my heedless mowing, though later it lit on metal the running machine. Hello, Debster, I said, and it flew, also my heart. Now read the second column. By the way, the word Debster here refers to my late wife, Deborah Weingarten. Shoulderless drizzle slows. The verge, asphalt, rain scent, and earthworms, beige bodies vulnerable. Breathe, outcome. The worms ribbed simple hearts, and mine, one and one, inside turned outside and birdsong. A blackbird red-winged, cardinal brief blood. Before last week, the air a storm, motionless red admiral. My heedless my mowing, though later on the running machine metal it lit. I said, hello, Debster, and my heart flew also. And now here's the contrapuntal reading. Slow drizzle on shoulderless asphalt. Slow drizzle, shoulderless, on shoulderless drizzle slows. Asphalt, the verge, asphalt, scent of rain and earthworms, rain scent and earthworms. Vulnerable beige bodies come out, beige bodies vulnerable. Breathe to breathe. An earthworm's body has outcome. The worms ribbed 5 hearts, though I have only 2. Simple hearts, and mine, the one inside and the one outside, 1 and 1, inside turned to birdsong turned outside, red-winged and birdsong. Blackbird and cardinal, a blackbird, red-winged, brief blood in the air. Last week, cardinal, brief blood. Before a storm, motionless red. Last week, the air a storm, motionless admiral. My heedless mowing, red admiral. Heedless my mowing, though later it lit on metal, though later on the running machine metal, it lit. I said, hello, Debster. I said, hello, Debster, and it flew also, and my heart flew also. So the next poem is called Instrument Landing. It was published in Ilias Honey. It may still be available online. And it also, I also intend this to be in a book that is forthcoming from Three Taos Press. It's called Cartography. I don't have a date for it yet, but you know, it will be birthed in the future at some point, I'm sure. So anyway, the poem is called Instrument Landing. Through fog-wrapped dark, the pilot prays, altimeter and compass, to the radio's alto and tenor, a splotch of green paint on a distant screen, pulsing toward origin. Someone is watching. A voice on the assigned frequency, delivering instructions for final approach. A sort of catechism in which the pilot responds with the evidence of faith, a steadfast belief in the imminent path to salvation. And lastly, I'm going to close with a couple of haiku. These were both published in the Dos Gatos anthology, Lifting the Sky, Southwestern Haiku and Haiga. So I'll read each of the 2 haiku twice. Lantana buzzing, monarchs, long wings, skippers. Which one's on my cheek? Lantana buzzing, monarchs, long wings, skippers. Which one's on my cheek? bare black branches, then the barred owl. Bare black branches, then the barred owl. Thank you all.
Lovely, Cindy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Tell us the name of the book again that's coming out, you said?
It's going to be called Cartography, and 3 Ataos Press is the press that will be publishing it. And like I said, I don't yet have a release date, but we're working on it, and I'm looking forward to it coming out. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
Ah, we love those books coming out. Just go for it. Excellent. So she'll let us know when that time comes. So she'll let me know, and I'll try to let everybody know. Thank you, Cindy, for reading. Our next bard is Kate Brimmer, and she's gonna read to us from the Hill Country. Where are you, Kate? There you are. Welcome.
She got disconnected, so she may not realize she's next up on the deck. We just readmitted her to the room.
Okay, Kate, can you hear
I'm ready.
me?
Yeah, I
am ready too.
Disconnected, so yay! I'm glad I'm back.
I'm glad you're here. Can you put your phone down low or up higher? I don't know. Right now we're looking at your chin.
Oh, weird.
Oh, that's better. Just tilt your head forward like that. That's much better. And I see a donkey's butt in the rear.
Yeah. I'm going to take, I think maybe the background. Is that better? Can you see my whole face?
I can, but we're still looking at you from underneath.
Oh, weird. Because the vision I see is different.
There, that's better. That's good. Just like that.
Okay.
Hello,
now,
welcome.
Hi. My trick will be to read the poem and hold the phone. So wish me luck.
Okay.
My name is Kate Brimmer, and I live in Blanco. I'm going to read 3 poems. The first one is in this wonderful anthology Through Layered Limestone. And we're still fully into spring and Easter, so I think it's appropriate even though Holy Week is over. This is Holy Week. Monday's honeybees enter my keyboard when it rains. Hyphens, semicolons, and parentheses rest in trees, making honey. Vowels land in the horse trough like bees falling off the whorehound. Fishing them out, I dry wings, reinflate dark abdomens, perform mouth-to-mouth and chest compressions. Antennae unfurl, wings begin to vibrate. Tuesday's bugs are fireflies, full pink moon and bearded iris. Brighter than stars, they pulse like magic, full of grace. They return in April, beyond craftsmanship. By July, they will sputter. I count words and hummingbirds in gallons of sugar water, 4-to-1 ratio. Wednesday's bug is full of vice, fire ants, bed bugs, lice, and deer ticks. Brown recluse, goatweed, pigweed, poverty weed, and tansy. English sparrow, grackle, cowbird. Weeds feed bees and butterflies, make nectar from overgrazing. Too many horses and cedar trees. Limestone hearts in the caliche were mollusks on the bottom of the sea. Forget the caterpillars. Thursday's bug, ironclad beetle has far to go. Jackson Pollock shell, hieroglyphics, the face of Danny DeVito on her back. Gentle, she only eats lichen, chewing the orange crater cups. Vibrant fur, yellow-green, each variety a symbol of haiku. Dragonflies swoop Jacob's bottomless well and my sludgy stock pond. Elegant couplets defining air and showing me how delight might work. Euphoria kernii, flower scarab, plunders prickly pear bloom, lolling and licking the stamens. Friday's bugs are lovers, living, propagating, dancing above the womb. Saturday's creature is the skimmer, walk on water bug, meniscus strider, faster than thought, quicker than spelling, and quiet as a comma. Near them are tiny white flowers, stars the size of spiral notebook holes, 33 per page. Fish punctuate the spring under the Jesus Christ insect, sunset sky, and Monet skin. Waiting for Sunday's bug to appear, not emerged yet from the tomb. Tarantulas in the kitchen, scorpion eating a roach, June bugs zapping light bulbs, ants disappear at night, dung beetles stop their rolling, walking sticks, ladybugs, aphids of the sun, monarch, she is risen. Okay. And this poem is in the Survival Anthology and the Purifying Wind Vulture Anthology. It is called 5 Points of Connection. It mentions Kestrel, which is actually the name of a donkey. So 5 Points of Connection. Tantra, tangerine sunset, translucent heart, $30 Himalayan salt lamp, a candled egg or bat wing. The animals cast a circle around us, grounding with muddy pelts. Shake it off, touch a donkey to break a spell. Kestrel eats poem on the virtues of getting lost. He ain't no GPS. Cushion of air between us, then an arrowhead, later a cranium. Armadillo, core of oak, mountain sacrum, Lalo is still. There are those who would destroy animals and creeks and hate the poor. That is a fact. Vulture in Latin means purifying wind. White-winged doves and cedar branches riffle my hair. Cathartic breeze. And finally, this is called Prayer Blanket. As if prayer were an inquisitive burro turning over the hay cart of beauty, or one stout mare, a psalm of earth, a balm, a tongue, a gong for you. My prayer is one of distraction, heat lamps, duct tape, and PVC, dam wind and winter reactions, crinoids, stone mollusks, and pollen seed. What yucca spears stand to offer, basket strings and drawing tools, kestrel, my burro's radiant fur, pictures in the sand. We are all God's mules, fools. What part of the desert will sustain? Lichen, limestone, and the donkey train. Thank you.
I love them as much now as I did then, Kate. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. To touch, if you want, what is that line about? Touch a donkey if you want salvation.
Oh, yeah.
Is that it? Touch a donkey.
I can't find it now, but
it's in the poem before.
Okay, I'm looking.
If you want.
Oh, touch a donkey to break a spell.
To break a spell.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. Kate is the poem. That poem, one of the poems she just read is the title poem to the Purifying Wind anthology that Moonshadow Sanctuary published in 2020. that's available on Amazon or on my website. Just a little commercial plug. Purifying Wind. Some of the others of you are also in the book, and I can't remember who, but yay. Excellent. Thank you so much, Kate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Would anybody like to take a 5-minute go get coffee, go to the bathroom break, and then come back besides me? Anybody you want to do that? Mommy, that's a consensus of 2. Sure. We're going to take a break for 2-3 minutes, just long enough to grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I have a question for those who are not muted or can unmute. How do you get the screen, like for the person who's reading, to take the screen? Right now, all I have is the little, what do you call that? You know, where everybody have their own little square.
Okay, if you go up, you'll have to the top right, hit a little button that says view.
Right.
And if you click on that, you should click on speaker view, because I think what you're describing is the gallery view where you see everybody all at once, but speaker.
Right. What happened when I'm clicking on that view, I switch from having the chat on the left to not having the chat on the left. So the only thing it's doing, I have tried that. Huh. Let's see if I close the chat completely, if that will do it. Oh, okay.
Is it working?
Speaker view. Now I see you across the whole screen.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
I'm supposed to be an engineer. I should figure these things out, but I got my degree too many years ago, I guess. So now I need help. You solved the mystery.
I've noticed, I've noticed that a few people are, and sorry, I'm in the dark. I tried to turn on the light, but I'm in my husband's man cave and I don't really exactly know how things operate down here, including the computer, apparently. I've noticed a few people are kind of dropping off and then coming back on. Is anybody having connectivity issues in terms of being able to hear the speakers? Or are we feeling okay on that? Okay. All right. If you do,
people, I was going to say people may be just turning the video off and leaving the audio on. That's what I thought anyway.
Right. Well, and I think people, I'm having to readmit people into the Zoom. But if you do feel like, you're having some connectivity issues, sometimes it helps to turn off your video camera, and then that kind of helps with the bandwidth as well.
Mine was totally handler error. Like I touched my earbuds and it did something. So yeah. So I'm not using those anymore.
I know. My husband's man cave is actually my son's bedroom. So my husband needs to go back to work in an office because he's kind of confiscated everybody's space in the house. Hopefully July.
That's good lighting, though. I mean, it's like good effect. You're at the light. They have this kind of like mood
is that
space
it? Okay.
Behind you.
Yeah.
Well, that's
looks like you're in a confessional in some ancient cathedral.
That's so you can't see the mess that is my son's room. Normally, he's at school right now, but you can't see the mess that my son's room is. So Eric, my husband, just came down here and put up this big kind of like screen, so when he's doing his calls, you aren't seeing the mess of my son.
So your husband's man cave is your son's bedroom. That's an
So what's much better than my bedroom closet, which is where he was before. So like 2 years ago when my daughter went off to college, I made him move downstairs to this room because I was like, I'm done with the bedroom office combination thing, right? And so he moved down here, but then when COVID hit and everybody was home, and it became clear to Emma that she was going to have to stay home and do school through the fall from the house. And her and Eric went to loggerheads over that. So she ended up getting my son's room, and my son moved down here to share a bedroom with Eric's office, which worked okay.
As long as that works for everybody.
Well, he's in Corpus Christi now going to college, so he's great.
Marisol, I just want to say hello. I just realized we were friends on Facebook. We probably exchanged a few comments here and there.
Oh yeah.
So
nice
it's good to see
yeah.
you. And
I think where we've crossed paths before in person is at Urban 15 with Mega Corazon. I think that's where I met you.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. That was fun. That's before COVID, and when we were when we were doing a lot of things for National Poetry Month. It seemed like this year's like nothing happened. Hopefully next year we'll be back to normal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was an interesting event back there. We did the poetry and.
Yeah, it's still going on.
I don't know. I think we had poetry and music and poetry and dance. Whatever the poets wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think I had George Prado.
Yeah, you
playing
did
bass with me. I think that's.
I remember that. That was great.
Yeah.
You guys are too hip. Way too hip.
Hey, yeah. Poetry and music, or poetry and dance, that to me is always a good combination.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, one year we managed to have an event at the Carver Center where we had dancers, choreographed dancing and music happening and poetry reading all together, and that was pretty amazing. That was awesome.
Very nice. Yes, performance art, live on.
Sure.
Okay, I think we're mostly back now, and so we'll carry on with the reading. Thanks everybody for humoring me with that intermission. That's the theater in me. 1 hour, you have an intermission, so people can keep paying attention.
That's
especially
right.
People with a small bladder. Okay.
Yeah, intermission. Rush to the bathroom.
That's right. All right. So Jeannie Sanders, unmute yourself and welcome from San Antonio, or from Lytle, Texas. Yes.
Which is close to San Antonio, just a little bit, 20 miles from it.
Close. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Dee, for doing this, because I know this is a lot of work. And thank the library for sponsoring all this. Okay, my first poem is called Quantification. On a sailing trip to Japan, I began to measure the ocean, to watch my reflection as the ship I stood upon sailed westward. We crossed the wake of the white whale among creatures unnameable, monsters beside which our vessel curved and wove. I tried to draw what passed before me, but I couldn't keep a sharp vision. Mermaids sang at night in mermaid language to guide us among the stars reflected on the water. Such peace descended as though spirits created long before mankind walked carried us with them, using the pull of the moon, the glory of each day's sunset. Those old watery souls called to the inner self, each person travels with, but has forgotten. Okay, this is the next one's about women and bravery. The way across. The woman swung out over the chasm, carrying rope coiled on her back for the next loop, the next way across. Don't look down, she said to herself as she swung, because there's a long drop before the other side becomes visible. She took hope clinging to her back. Life went along to investigate. It was her push off from safety the others worried about. But she went anyway, because not going never entered her mind. And this is about poets, all of us poets that are always thinking up something to write all the time, or hope we are. Packing. Poets bring their poems with them wherever they go. They pack them around in the suitcase of their mind and pull them out when they need a turn of phrase, a significant description of a thing, or other defining definition. Their poems aren't always filed in any order, but carried with love and care. Some have yellowed pages from the youth of their beginning. Others spring new from that suitcase of the mind, arriving crisp and clean and clear. All start with a spark of some wonderful chemical poets must have gotten from that first drop of blood tied to their mother's heartstrings. And this is also about poets. Late for the dance. I'm a bit late for the dance to do much but shuffle across the floor. When I could have been quicker, my feet, I was dancing for others' tunes, not mine. Mine were in the dark of a drawer, placed on the back of an envelope without a heading. No directions seemed to appear for placing a heading on any piece of my scribble. Woe to me, I think, as I keep on writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie, very much. I love that suitcase image, carrying our stuff around, and then, you know, the way they're all stacked and crumpled and stuck, and maybe now I have a file, but there were many years when I did not. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Marisol, welcome.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, let's see, am I unmuted? Okay. Thank you, Dee, for organizing this, and thank you to all of the participating poets. It's amazing hearing your work. It's all amazing work, so thank you very much. I'm gonna read an excerpt. I write poetry, but what I'm gonna read from tonight is actually from a novel that I just had published from Flower Song Press, which is a small press in the Rio Grande Valley. So this is from Luz at Midnight. And I actually, the segment I thought I would read, I for whatever reason, I felt called to read a different part of the chapter that I selected. I think because knowing that this was with the Burney Library, and so part of that chapter that I felt called to read is sort of in the landscapes kind of a little east of Burney, but kind of along that stretch of 46 that runs through Comal County. So I think that's why I feel compelled to read this section of the chapter, which is called Sludge Ponds and Sacred Dances. They are walking now across the courtyard at the center of the shelter complex and toward the cafeteria that doubles as chapel. All over the dry yellow grass of the courtyard, people sprawl and sit and lie in a muggy purgatory. That was where those who did not want to commit to the shelter's assistance programs were allowed to camp. And you know, she says, the shelter was a concession for the vagrancy law they passed a few years back to make sure homeless people didn't spoil the view for downtown tourists. You didn't know that? Council voted to pass the most punitive downtown vagrancy law in decades if the business community would put money toward the shelter. Still, says Joel, still, meaning it is still a place of refuge. And he's not wrong to say so. In the cafeteria chapel, they sit against each other at a long particle board lunch table, close, with legs pressed together, Joel's fingers resting lightly on the back of Lali's arm, above the elbow. His other hand closes tight around the leash that tethers loose to his side, lying quietly beneath the table. When Rinpoche enters, his hat is indeed black, but it is also draped in yellow sashing and crowned with a grinning calavera, just as his black robe is embroidered blue and gold with the porcine face of a demon, grimacing with tongue out, bordered by floating skulls. He dances, trailing a fistful of rainbow streamers from each hand, circling one direction and then another, sending a waterfall of many colored tassels flying from the bottom of his robe. What does it mean? Lale wonders. What am I seeing? What am I supposed to be seeing? Afterward, there is time for such questions, but Lale and Joel and Luz bypass the line forming before the llama, instinctively reaching for each other's hand as they walk out into the courtyard among intransigent sprawlers and campers. When he says he has a headache, she retrieves a bottle of pills from the little pocket of her backpack and shakes a few into his waiting hand, cupping it from beneath with one of hers, stroking his fingers closed with her other. They don't have much time. Children are waiting back home, cared for by ex-partners and parents. But before they return, they drive to the stretch of river that runs by her apartment. Joel unleashes Luz, who runs barking ahead after a scatter of grackles. They park and cross the tangle of train tracks to follow the freshly constructed bike path for a ways, walking alongside the river. At the newly opened bike bridge, they slide down the bank to sit on the concrete wall, intersecting the bridge abutment, talking about high school and family. We moved out of the city just before I started middle school, she says. We got bought out and they demolished our house. My folks took the money and moved north, out of the city. It's suburban now, but back then it was the middle of nowhere. As a kid, I remember the car ride felt like it took hours. And it's weird, but even though she spent as many of her formative years in rural areas as she did in the city, she never felt like she was from those spaces, like she belonged. Always a feeling she had been ripped from the city, that a piece of her had snagged on something and gotten left behind, or that something had snagged on her and followed, sewed up inside her body like a surgical error. As a teenager, she would walk around at night in the big empty spaces north of the city, feeling as though the houses had their backs turned. By night, the trees were black shapes, swaying in the warm wind. She would drive for hours sometimes, looking, smoking, listening to music. She would skip school to drive around, sometimes with others, sometimes alone. Once, on a long back road detour home, she found a small roadway bridge traversing the Guadalupe, where it ran swift and narrow. She had parked and carefully picked her way down the steep embankment to sit by the water. And when she hiked back up, she veered off path to inspect the underside of the bridge. There, she had seen a shocking sight, stumbling backwards before scrambling back up the hill. A paper wasp nest the size of a car, looming beneath the concrete trusses of the bridge. Years later, the memory seems incredible, unreal, but it seems equally incredible that she might have imagined it. Stuff like that, though. The houses may have been suspicious of her, but they were unexpected pockets of something unalienated and inalienable. They should look for that bridge sometime together. They should see if the nest is still there. He listens with arms hugging his knees, head down. He can sympathize. A move, they say it's like a death, next to a death and its impact on a person's life. When he was 14 years old, his father abruptly relocated the family from Philadelphia to Waco, Texas, to take a job as chair of the physics department at the Bible Belt College there, in the years before the FBI laid waste to David Koresh and his Branch Davidian compound. It was traumatic for all of them, a move from which none of them had ever fully recovered. That had been when the episodes began for Joel, when the cycles had gathered force and taken shape. Only recently had he been able to talk to his dad about that time. Walking now, propelled by mosquitoes and time constraints off the bridge abutment and onto the bike path back to the car, not touching, not kissing, but with the charge between them palpable, wondering what would happen and when. And then it does, and it's not what either of them expect. But when he tells her about his father, something makes them slow and turn toward one another. Something brings her hand up to rest on the side of his face, tender. His eyes widen, his mouth falls open. She lets her hand lie there a few seconds against his cheek, both of them standing outside in the falling dusk, moths and mosquitoes swarming the streetlight above, joggers and cyclists and strollers passing them from behind. A powerful helplessness, a powerful powerlessness, which is to say, there's a line of force between them, but it is unstable. That night she lies awake, feeling his fingers lightly running along the back of her arm. He lies awake, the weight of her knowing hand, her tenderness, against his face for those few seconds, throbbing with the heat of a brand. Thank you.
Wow. I love hearing you read that. I have the book. I'm in it. I'm excited to finish it or get into it. You have your own, such a special voice that's so different from any other writer I've ever read. So, and I love that I can identify with place all the way through wherever you're reading. And congratulations on that award that Moby mentioned, Texas Institute of Letters. You won, what was it? The first novel award? Yay! Wow. Congratulations. So did you tell us how we can get that book?
Yes, it looks like Moby posted it. Thank you, Moby.
Yeah, you can Press.
And actually, what I'm really excited about is that we were able to create an ebook version too. So you do have to get it from Amazon, which if you have the ability to support Flower Song, then that would be, the best way. But for accessibility reasons, I think ebooks are very important. And so if you go to Amazon and look for the title, you'll be able to you can also get the ebook version there.
Luz at Midnight, L-U-Z, Luz at Midnight. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marisol. Lovely. Okay, Sandy Stromberg from Houston. Are you still with us? I don't see you.
I'm here.
There you are. I lose the faces. I forget who's wearing what. And whenever somebody comes in or out, it pops everybody around. And then I'm like, oh, no, don't move them. I can't find them if you move them. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think it's such a good idea, your theme, A Year of Miracles, to look on with gratitude on the things that have happened, not just writing about the virus. So that's wonderful. I have 3 poems, and my first poem is about a poet I know. Her name is Joy, and I've yet to meet a woman whose name is Joy who is not joyful. They seem to live up to their names. And she's this dynamic woman, has a beauty salon over in the east part of Houston, and she makes jewelry out of beautiful stones and minerals. And just being with her, you just fill up with this love of life. So there's a publication called Visual Verse. And at the first of each month, they put up a picture. It can be a painting, a photo, or what have you. And you have 1 hour to write a poem. At the bottom, you click on the timer, you write your poem, and you submit it. And they don't tell you if you got chosen or not. You just have to go and check on it every once in a while. And you have 15 days to do that 1 hour, right? And I just saw this really funky picture, and it made me think of Joy and her beauty shop and her jewelry. So I wrote it and they published it. So it was a lot of fun. Joy's 7 degrees and pocket full of stones. Let me glory in the wilderness of my untamable hair, its growing savagery, how it curls around alligator clips and wide-mouthed bobby pins. Give me courage to visit Joy's 7 degrees over there on Main Street, where the homeless hang out, and I bring pastries when I can, where braids by Joy rule, not just dreadlocks and cornrows, but box braids, long lemonade braids, Nubian and yam twists, where Joy turns healing stones into works of art to grace hands necks, arms, and hair, and where, like the Berber women in Morocco's mountains, henna arabesques the back of hands, adds fire to long and short locks. I once went there on Sundays for the sheer pleasure of poetry, to take my words out of academic straitjackets, to give them a bit of rap and reggae, to let them fly in the breeze of dryers, the scent of shampoos and dyes. Now, I need to take this wildness to her for jangles and shells, crystals and beads, anything she can weave into a braid. So. And my husband and I, Bill, who's sitting here with me, we used to like to go over to the hill country, get out of flat Houston at Thanksgiving. So the next two poems are about two different trips to the hill country. And they were both in different years of the Texas Poetry Calendar. Lake Buchanan Sanctuary. On the hillside above deep fried and barbecue, Mariah serves organic, sprouted grain and seeds, fresh fruit smoothies, fish. She's hooked on paleo cuisine, Spanish guitar, her notions of spirituality. In the guest book, I read how she and her husband, now dead, built this community of cottages and sheds below a hilltop sanctuary where the spirits often come. She looks askance at me and says, "You have to be receptive." And she's right. I'm probably not. I've seen too much damage in the name of spiritual intent. Even so, I sit in the stone circle amidst pungent junipers, deep purple blossoms, my eyes closed in anticipation. Is doubt a deterrent? I dismiss the thought and concentrate on the slight breeze tinkling a bevy of chimes. Their pitches in and out of sync. They blend point and counterpoint. I meditate, relax my mind, breathe deeply as I indulge in the soft blend of birdsong and chime. A slight ruffle moves against my cheek. My eyes shoot open. Flashes of yellow, orange, and blue flit silently before me. Butterflies, their shadows traversing numinous ground. And the last one is Leaving Comfort, Texas on FM 473. Young, lithe, lovely, the doe races down the farm to Market Road, dodging my car, searching for courage. The buck she runs with carries a rack of antlers that mark him seasons older, but age makes no difference to them. With the elegant grace of a ballet dancer, he leaps the 6-foot barbed wire fence and pauses in the field, turning his head toward her as they begin a parallel course. His eyes command, jump, jump, now, now. And I think of my own fears of leaping as I pull to the side of the road. The doe charges the barrier. Each time when her young legs refuse to leap, my blood leaps for them. My breath held as she hops, lowers her head in what seems a moment of prayer. Or perhaps the prayer is mine. Thank you.
Perhaps the prayer is mine. We've had prayer and moon and nature and wondering and questioning and butterflies tonight. Love it. And you know, I say this is a juried reading, but it just means I just read to be sure there's nothing there that's really emotionally or politically too charged for this venue. I don't try to make, you know, like send me poems about this subject or that subject. So it's like a wonderful potluck supper where nobody brings the same dish and it all goes together. It's lovely. Thank you all. It's lovely. Serendipitous, divine even. So Loretta Diane Walker, I'm so happy you're here. I think I met you, quote unquote, the first time at a Central Texas Writers reading, if I'm not mistaken, with Nicole. Is that where I met you? First time, Loretta?
I am at Waco Word Fest, at Waco Fest.
Yeah, like a reading that Nicole was facilitating. I haven't met you in person, but seen you several times now. I feel like we're old friends now.
Yeah. I met Loretta at Waco Word Fest. She probably doesn't remember, but yeah, I haven't had her at Central Texas Writers Society.
All
so maybe
right.
it was
That's
another...
a false memory then. Fake news, fake news. Whoops. Okay, Loretta, I'm so happy you're here to read for us, and I can't wait to hear what you have. Please.
I am. I'm going to read the title poem of the very first book I've ever published, and quite interesting. You know what's interesting about it? I can't even remember reading from this book other than when it first came out. So it first came out in 2006. It's called Word Flirtations. It's no longer available. I'll explain about that later if we have time, but it's Word Flirtations. So I'm going to read the title poem. And this is when life was much gentler for me. And so Word Flirtations. I like flirting with words. Wink at sophisticated multi-syllable ones. Engage short, squatty ones in sultry conversation. I like sitting them next to each other. Entice, shake, stir. Stretch them to the top of a page. Curious if they will fall or disappear into another meaning. I like to watch vowels dance, roll R's into cookie dough, slice prepositional phrases into a pot of stewed tomatoes. I don't like tomatoes unless transformed into ketchup or salsa. The texture of squish riles my senses, like the bothersome pronunciation of lozenges. My tongue trips over the Z. I would like to interview the head word, ask why after I have toiled, extracting excessive these and ings from my poem, journey's end stirs me in the direction of a Chinese buffet and the eating of amputated crab legs. So, the other poems I'm going to read from, I will actually have a chapbook coming out this year and a full-length manuscript. The chapbook, I need to give nods out to the Bernie, out to Dee Phillips and Robin. And I have to tell you, the title of the chapbook is From the Cow's Eye. And this chapbook won the 2021 William Barney chapbook contest. And so the title poem is From the Cow's Eye and Other Poems, and this was first published and through Layered Limestone. Yeah. So this has a Texas theme, and I will read the title poem. A Gurney cow stands in history's endless prairie, face framed by a log fence, A necklace of sunshine loops her fawn-colored head. One eye stares into what was, and the other into what is. A rough red road dividing rivers of bluebonnets streaming past bumpy rocks, yawning canyons, old oak, pecan, and mesquite trees. It zooms in on other strophes of beauty, white hair yucca, sun-streaked daisies, fire wheels, and flame-colored paint brushes. The cow's head moves like a sluggish pulley. Her other bored eye sweeps beyond wild grass pitching up the steep hills of a limestone community, and hills ebbing and flowing like gentle waves. When she stares back through the vista of time, her eye rests on a creek, the shade of morning, at a vagabond wind, whirring the voices of 8 men carving Bernie's name into the future with the chisels of their dreams. And the other I want to read in the full-length manuscript entitled, I forgot. I can't believe I just did. I really did forget the title. I just forgot the title of my book. Anyway, it's about Darkness Begins. Anyway, it's about healing. And one of the poems that I would like to read, this is not Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night, in a response into his painting, The Starry Night. In this normally loud month of March, I stand on the front porch, lean into this night drenched with quiet, lift my head, wonder if stars dream their light, speak the same dialect as my eyes. In the middle of my yard, an old massive mulberry. Unlike Vincent's flaming cypress, it does not connect earth and sky in the noisy hamlet of my mind. I squint my eyes at the mulberry's labyrinth of naked branches, ask a twisted skinny branch if the line between madness and sorrow is made of silk. I tell myself, you are not Van Gogh, and this is not his night sky with its rolling energy and exploding stars. That large white ball at the top of your tree is not Venus. It is the moon draped in a shawl of clouds. His sweeping pale swirls are not the constellation of cancer cells you saw on your right breast x-ray. Van Gogh is gone. Your breast is gone. You are here. If you must walk your life into a painting, live in Vincent's incessant waves of blue, where those yellow stars are the faces of angels you can only see in darkness. And the last poem I want to read is a letter to the vaccine. Dear vaccine, I will not strap miracle across your back, burden you with such a task or title. I am twice grateful for the prick and sting that sent you like a current in the river of my blood. I allowed you to swim inside my veins because I want to do more than walk on the crunchy sentences of dried fallen leaves and listen to the erratic rhythms of bird feathers flapping in the branches of trees. How grateful I am to walk among air and light. But I want to return to the Jack in the Box kids at the movies. The ones who pop up and down in their seats to go to get popcorn, nachos, napkins, to the bathroom. I even want the ones who hold a one-sided conversation with characters on the screen. Give me the mother who shushes them with the volume louder than their monologues. Her shushing an aria I didn't know to applaud. I want to return to the gymnasium, listen to the beat and bounce of a basketball on hard wood, the spectators' cheers, the blink of the scoreboard, and the loud buzzer signaling time has run out. I want to return to a time when it was safe to inhale, exhale, as a lovesick newlywed thrust a Bath and Body Works fragrance at my nose and asked, "Do you think she will like it?" Then walked away as if my smile and his choice formed an allegiance. Vaccine, I entered in a union with you because I would like to sit freely in this earth, skin to sky, and breathe without fear. Thank you.
Lovely, so beautiful, poignant, tender, honest. Thank you, Loretta.
The title.
Your title, yes.
The title of my book, I can't believe that. I really do have a valid excuse. I won't go into, but the title of the book, Day Begins When Darkness is in Full Bloom.
Yeah, wow, wow. And that line about angels you can only see in the darkness. Yeah.
Thank you.
There was something else I was going to say to you, but so your chapbook that's coming out, is there a place to find it yet?
No, I am.
Not yet.
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. I know the full length manuscript is through Blue Light Press, and it will be later in the year. I will forward information to you.
Let us know, please. Yes, thank you so much for being here. And our last reader is Lahab Asef Al-Jundi. Did I say that right? I love that.
Yes,
did I say
that's
that?
good. Thank you.
No, did I say it right? Say it for me.
Lahab Asef Al-Jundi. Yeah, that was very close.
I did pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. And
sure.
I look forward to hearing what you read. Please tell us about the book that you're in that just came out, The World, How to Love the World.
Oh, that's a new anthology put together by James Cruz. It has a lot of wonderful beautiful poetry. I mean, this guy is really fantastic as far as selecting poems that just kind of like flow together. And the theme of the book is just so timely, How to Love the World. So that's the anthology I'm in. We did a couple of readings from that book. I guess recently you saw some of that.
You posted something like that. Where is that book available? Is it on Amazon?
I think that book is available on Amazon and a bookstore. Okay. He has like a, big time publisher, distributor and all that. So it's probably available
all over the place. Yeah. So you can go into your local bookstore if you still are doing that anywhere and ask them to order it for you, and they will do that, I'm sure. How to Love the World.
Right.
A lot of big names in there, including Lahab.
I'm going to read a few poems from this book. Let's see if you can, I don't know if you can see it. It's called No Faith at All. It was published by Pecan Grove Press in San Antonio, which is the press for St. Mary's University. And soon after this book was published, St. Mary's decided not to publish any more poetry. So the press doesn't exist anymore. So I'm not really sure where this book can be found anymore. So I'm looking for a new publisher for my next book. H. Palmer Hall was the I guess the editor in charge of that Pecan Grove Press. And after he passed away, they decided to do away with the press. But luckily, he left word, because he passed away before the book was published, that I want to make sure you guys publish that book before, you know, you shut the door down, which is, you know, a beautiful, beautiful thing to say about him. I'm grateful to him for that. So I'll start with a poem titled Blaze. Some evening when you close your eyes and flash back to a time when you did not know that a heartbeat is a light vibration illuminating the courtyard of your brain. And you wonder if that was 1,000 years ago, or only last night, or perhaps the world changed since you last blinked. Would you reconsider then what over coffee and sweets you deemed intellectual babbling, reinvented myth? Second poem is titled View. I realized after I sent this poem to you that I selected 5 poems that all have one-word titles, which is interesting. So View. Take one moment. Look as far as you can see. The universe, all of life, all joys and sorrows, all there is, a snapshot, an instantaneous view of the whole. Take another moment. Focus on the smallest point, tiniest feeling, an instant with no sides, no depth, no weight. The two are identical. One contains everything. The other wears all on the outside. One cannot exist without the other. A trance, a single beat of one heart. Thanks. Life. Look at me. Tangled threads, strings of many colors across your screen. Look at me. 2 bodies, one wears the other, tailored to fit. Look at me. Each atom knows its neighbors, all pledged to one allegiance, stars in the galaxy. Nomad. I am up this cold night. You are still sleeping, but the birds don't know to keep quiet. Something is calling me, more than your warm body, more than the touch of sleep on tired eyes. Many times I'm beckoned or sent back to open the eyes, move the body from under the covers, and converse with spirit of the night. I often wonder where you are when I'm up prowling in this place we call home. And one more, eccentricities. If we cannot examine the sacred, who and what should we probe? The mundane, the trivial? And if what we hold sacrosanct fails to stand up to inquiry, why keep it in high regard? What do I revere as sacred? Love that pulled me away from this poem, life dancing in and out of perception, entity of blooming eccentricities, this blasphemous question on the tip of my pen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a wonderful way to, what a wonderful closure, vessel for closure in this space. Deep bow to all of you for your words and your patience and your listening and your presence and your blasphemy, all of it. Your reverie and your questioning. And
you have to have a little bit of blasphemy there.
All of that, yes. So unmute yourself. So this is sort of a ritual we do now. We're going to unmute. Everybody unmute, 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 unmute. Come on, yeah, everybody unmute. Jeannie,
everybody,
yeah. And say,
hey, Wolfie!
Yeah,
Hey,
Wolfie! Thank you so much. Good job.
Bye.
Keep writing. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. This was a delight.
That was great.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
What a delightful evening. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, y'all all be real good or not. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.